this channel already has the entire Book of Mormon, the entire Pearl of Great Price, all Doctrine and Covenants, the entire Quran, and like a really hefty section of the Bible in different chats, you know what I'm saying? Different poems, psalms. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do for you next year. What am I going to read? I've been reading on YouTube for 10 years. I don't know what I'm going to read. BookTube is a small portion of what I've been putting out there. I'm going to read you today some of the books that I picked to read next year. There's already a video where I had some recommendations of the authors. So this is going to be the books that I picked from those authors. So American Lit, Victorian Lit is disturbing. I've picked some foreign literature. I got South African author. I wanted to maybe check out something called Olive Schreiner. Something, The Story of an African Farm. 3 Dreams in a Desert. Trooper Peter Hackett. I picked a woman named Susan Moody. She wrote something called Roughing It in the Bush. Life in the Clearings. Life in the Bush. I'm going to try to hunt down the Susan B. Anthony book. She was on trial. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's a woman on our money that was federally indicted. And she was right, and they were wrong. Okay, how about Bram Stoker? My term paper was on Bram Stoker, Dracula. And I read this year, The Judge's House, the story about a boy that reads the book and all this crazy rats running up a rope. You know, that was fun. I picked another by Bram Stoker, The Snake's Pass. Also, Mystery of the Sea from 1902. That would be the Victorian era ended in 1901. So a book from 1902 I picked, Mystery of the Sea, and Lair of the White Worm. Rudyard Kipling was recommended by Andy. If anybody's seen Andy, Andy's my friend that I guess went to Kutztown University, which I guess is a terrorist training camp, because he's been in jail twice now on terror. He's in there right now. He was helping me with a lawsuit, and he's in there right now on the largest bail I ever seen, $250,000. So if you see Andy Ostrowski, he was a Democrat. Let him know that I'm going to read a Rudyard Kipling book, because he mentioned Rudyard Kipling. I've picked poems. Definitely, I'm going to check out the poems. But Gunga Din, Cold Iron, White Man's Burden. Well, we know Rudyard Kipling is famous for the Disney movie, The Jungle Book. Okay, I've also picked a couple books that I've been wanting to read since I was like in my 20s, 30s, probably something called Flatland by Edwin Abbott. Never read that. I really want to do that. Okay, I also picked Sonnets from the Portuguese, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor. I can't read my writing. Coleridge, maybe? Queen of Spades by Alexander Pushkin, The Goblin Market by Christina Rossetti, Chicago Poems by Carl Sandburg, and Great Love Poems by Shane, looks like Willer. Frederick Douglass, Narrative of the Life of an American Slave, was a book that really got me back into reading. I've always read when I was little, but then you have a baby and go through life homeless, you don't really have time to read, and then it's like, that's the book that got me back in. So if you want to get back into reading, Frederick Douglass. So I picked the second book of his that I'm going to try to find, The Heroic Slave. We got a French author, because I definitely need to step out of the American lit for a minute. I got Alexander Dumas, Count of Monte Cristo, also wrote Romulus, Henry III and His Court, and something called Latour Mazel. I don't know. So, you ever see that part of the Bible where it says, oh, I wish my enemy wrote a book? So, Victor Hugo, probably seen the movies, Hunchbacks of Notre Dame, Les Miserables, and The Last Day of a Condemned Man are the books. You know, an audiobook these are probably 17-hour books, and you're watching it in a 2-hour movie, so the books are always better. Okay, how about a Canadian author, Grant Allen, wrote something called Thames Valley, Beckoning Hands, Pumpkins Glow, Hand and Brain. Irish author, Thomas Bracken, an Irish poet. I'm trying to read next year, Behind the Tomb, Flowers of the Free Land, Musings in Maorland, Maoriland. And I also saw that word by a New Zealand author, Frederick Edward Manning, who wrote about a trip to Maor Island. He also wrote a book called Old New Zealand. Frank Kafka, I think I mentioned him in the last one. I picked In the Penal Colony. Nathaniel Hawthorne, The Marble Fawn and the Birthmark. My Jane Austen July is still going to be Northanger Abbey. I didn't finish that one. Elizabeth Gaskell, Wives and Daughters. I'm still reading Anne Bronte, Tenant of Wildfell Hall. That might be my Christmas book this year. So, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do for YouTube next year, because it sounds like I want to do a lot of reading offline. But I have to figure something out to keep in the feed, you know? So if you have any ideas of what you would like, don't say tarot cards. That's what Joey said.